Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We got an action-packed show. It's also Hump Day with Tony Hills, CJ Vogel going to be joining us here momentarily. But first, guys, let's talk a little spring practice, spring football. I know y'all got some news there, and I'm going to let you share it with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I broke the news yesterday that Texas will start spring practice, according to sources, on March 25th. That's a week from yesterday. All right, excuse me, a month exactly from yesterday. Texas will have 15 spring practices at all, culminating with a Fan Appreciation Day on April 26th, which just so happens to coincide with a baseball game against the Aggies at Dish Falk at 3 o'clock on Saturday. So Texas will start spring practice, I'm being told, on March 25th. Pro Day for the Longhorns will be March 26th. So there'll be a lot of activity around the 40 acres on the 25th and the 26th. You mentioned CJ Vogel. He's already at the Combine right now as well, and he's already spoken to Barron Sorrell, who did his media interviews as well as others. A lot of news going on today, though. We've got a full packed show. I think Blake and Jerry should be a good one. But, Blake, I got to ask you, you were out doing a little scouting yourself yesterday with Aaliyah Chavez, the women's number one ranked basketball player in the country. You were in Abilene. What did you hear over there? I think you got some news to break yourself.
I do, and
Blake just broke national recruiting news, by the way. So congrats to Blake on this one.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. So went and saw her yesterday. First off, very, very impressive. Well worth the number one ranking. The big news is we now have an announcement date. It'll be March 25th is when she is going to announce, according to her father, Sonny Chavez. Talked to him for a little bit. And I'm going to have a lot more over on ontexasfootball.com, and we'll get into it as well a little bit further in depth. But the 25th, guys, is when the questions will be answered.
I saw they made their way to state. Is that correct as well? They earned
the state championship game. They'll play in a state championship game Saturday at 11 a.m. in San Antonio against Liberty Hill. And that will be a packed house. Is packed the house for a girls' state championship game is maybe this state seen in many years.
Yes, definitely. And yes, she won. They won 20 points, I think, last night, 20-21, somewhere right in there. But like I said, she was very, very impressive. So,
and we'll have much more on that because CJ Vogel's about to join us from the Combine. So we're going to talk a lot more on Chavez, what Blake learned last night, but we'll do that later in the show because there's more, obviously.
That's right. And first, Bobby, before we get to CJ, I'm going to let you tell everyone about Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm.
Yeah, per usual, Adam, and we'll do the trivia question a little later, but he's giving away 4 free tickets to this weekend's men's basketball game against Georgia. We'll have a trivia question. Get your pens or get your fingers ready to type an answer for a trivia question that comes later in the program. If you or a loved one has been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, make sure you reach out to Adam and his group at loweylawfirm.com. That's loweylawfirm.com. They've been helping injured Texans for more than 20 plus years. They've also been a sponsor of On Texas Football now for 2 plus years. We appreciate him very, very much to allow us to come to you each and every Wednesday. He also sponsors the state of the program. Appreciate Adam very, very much.
And without further ado, I'm going to bring in CJ. And how's it going this morning, CJ?
Good morning, fellas. Happy, Wednesday. Happy Wednesday from Indianapolis.
Hey, CJ, I saw the note that you put out on Twitter and on TexasFootball.com. Sounds like Barron Sorrell was the first Longhorn at the mic today. I want to ask you about that. And then I want to ask you about Landon Jackson, the brother of Texas freshman Lance Jackson. But let's start with what Barron Sorrell had to say at the mic.
Yeah, it was a good start to the week for the 14 Longhorns out here in Indianapolis. Barron Sorrell said he's met with a couple teams already, had a formal meeting already with the Houston Texans, an informal meeting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cowboys fans, don't hold your breath just yet, but there has not been a meeting with them. But he did say, this is a group that he's very excited to come to Indianapolis with, 13 other teammates. So he mentioned a few guys that he is hoping to be in Indianapolis next year as well. He mentioned Ethan Burke and Colton Vosick on his end. But beyond that, he said, look, I'm here because of hard work. Kenny Baker, Pete Kwiatkowski, and the rest of my teammates get me to where I can be. So coming off of the Senior Bowl, I asked him, I said, what kind of reviews were you receiving? And he said, look, a lot of teams said, I don't know if I knew you had that in you to come out to the Senior Bowl and perform like that. So he wanted to come back in to the Combine this week and obviously back that up, put on another strong performance, and hopefully boost that draft grade by a little bit.
Hey, CJ, did he confirm that 88 is great?
There was a mention of 88 is great.
Nice.
Hey, CJ, Landon Jackson, the Arkansas edge, had some interesting things to say about Kelvin Banks this morning as the players there at the Combine go through the interview process right now with reporters. What did Landon Jackson have to say?
Yeah, Landon Jackson said Texas left tackle Kelvin Banks was actually the best tackle that he faced in his entire college career, which I don't know if that's too much of a surprise, but to hear that from Jackson, who, again, has been rising up draft boards pretty crazy as of late with his length, his size, his reach, that's quite the accomplishment there for Kelvin Banks. That was also echoed by Barron Sorrell, who was asked who his toughest tackle he faced in college was. And he said, look, I faced him every single day in practice. It was Kelvin Banks. So two feathers in the cap right there for Kelvin Banks, who, again, will be out here later this week. They'll be on the field Sunday for the offensive line. He will get in Saturday morning to come speak with the media as well.
One of the things that I think is interesting about that answer from Landon Jackson is he also plays against the other. He also has played multiple times against the other top-ranked tackle, right?
Yeah.
And that's Will Campbell out of LSU. So for Lance Jackson to single out Kelvin Banks might be telling. Who else is on deck for you today, and when does everything get started, CJ?
Yeah, I'm waiting right now at the top of the hour. I'll hear from Vernon Broughton. Alfred Collins will be 30 minutes after that. So two other Longhorns on the defensive line will be speaking today. They will be starting their on-field performance on Thursday. So one more day and you'll start to see these guys perform and really start their underwear Olympics, which is what we're all excited about. Am I right? So, they'll start their on-field stuff tomorrow. That will go all the way through Sunday. And again, 14 Longhorns will come in, speak with the media, and then get on the field. And look, hey, mentioned is I talked a little bit with Jack Sawyer, the edge rusher from Ohio State. There's a question: when did you know you guys won the national championship? And he said, look, it was right after the scoop and score. JT Tuamaloa mentioned the exact same thing. He said the scoop and score was the minute that they knew they would win the national championship. Jack Sawyer also said, I ran into Quinn Ewers, and that was a big ordeal earlier in the build-up to the Cotton Bowl. The two were roommates at Ohio State their freshman year. He said, look, we didn't talk about the play. We didn't talk about the scoop and score. We just chopped it up like old friends, wish each other the best, and went about our business. But a cool moment from them because obviously a lot of history from their first time on campus ever to obviously a little bit over 2 months ago, and then now in the Combine.
CJ, you're looking at this group. Any kind of word on the street out there from talking to people, fellow reporters, that news or notes, not just from a Texas perspective, but a national one that people are looking for? Any subplots or major stories?
Yeah, one interesting tidbit that I've picked up already is, Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. He didn't have a lot of production this year, but that's a guy that's quickly rising up draft boards. And look, that's a lot of athleticism. If you go back in and you watch some of his tape to move the way that he does at 285 pounds, which is what he came in to college at and what he's leaving college at, he said, look, I wasn't asked to be a big pass rusher. We had a lot of talented defensive linemen. A lot of times I had to sit in there and kind of do the dirty work. He's a guy that's quickly rising up the boards. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the first 45 picks or so, which might come as a surprise because I know Texas fans looked at that pass rush in College Station and said, you know what, it wasn't as daunting as maybe it appeared to be on paper. But, that's a guy I'm hearing a lot of buzz about that. He certainly could go much earlier than expected, despite not having the production of some of these top-end defensive ends.
Good stuff, CJ. All right, CJ, you do yours. Jerry, Blake, y'all have anything before we let CJ go this morning?
No, I think that covers it. And I know CJ's probably making vacation plans to get back to Indiana this summer at Indianapolis. It's a really good vacation spot.
It's beautiful, Jerry. 35, partly cloudy, mostly cloudy.
Yeah.
The thing about Indianapolis is, hey, Jerry, and having been there for my daughter's volleyball tournaments through the years, you literally in the wintertime, you don't have to walk outside. You can literally walk underground the whole time to get to any convention center or stadium, etc., anywhere throughout that city.
The convention center takes up the whole city.
Yeah,
that's all there's here.
I'm a big blue water guy, so nothing like being landlocked by water by 1,500 miles or 2,000.
Hey, but where he's at, there's a football on the ground this week. Is
there a Peyton Manning statue or anything around there?
I'm gonna have to venture around Lucas Oil here in a bit. I'll find one, Jared.
If there is, you should interview it about Arch.
I like that.
That's the statue about Arch. That's good. Yeah. Thanks, CJ. Have a good one, buddy.
All righty, guys. Y'all have a good one.
All right, we'll check in with you tomorrow. Good stuff from CJ Vogel, guys. Hey, baseball real quick. I forgot about this. I was going to ask CJ. He made me think about baseball. Longhorn baseball team on a little bit of a roll, Blake. Is that correct?
Yes.
Beating Incarnate Word yesterday?
That's right. Now 6-1 on the season after dropping the season opener to Louisville. Looking good. Bat starting to warm up a little bit. You know, we had that question, I think it was Monday, about should we be worried? And, you know, my answer was cold weather. No, it's very early. But we're starting to see them come alive a little bit. And like I said, once they get the pitching, that middle relief down, I think they'll be fine. But also need to point out, A&M lost again.
I was going to say, look, they're going to sell out of joy mode because of A&M baseball this year. But I will say this, you know where they don't need joy mode? Ole Miss next.
Oh, people need to do their recon and look into what's exactly going on over there, because that's some crazy stuff now.
Yeah.
We will not mention it. Adrian Rodriguez, by the way, the third baseman for the Longhorns, freshman, is just having a monster start. We had mentioned him preseason. Blake, that was one guy that you said you went down, and I think it was the alumni game you were at, or one of those games, practices, and you were like, this guy's going to be a future unbelievable player for Texas. He has started this season in such a way that you would think he might be the next great baseball player at the University of Texas.
Yeah.
I think that's Adrian Rodriguez. Remember that name, guys.
Yeah, for sure. And also, Kyle says Ethan Mendoza looks like a legit leadoff hitter with his power speed, the Arizona State transfer, and his dad's a big fan of the show, so shout out to his father. But yeah, he's another one. So Texas has got some talent coming and going after this year. So
Max
in a good spot.
Yeah,
in a good spot for sure. All right, guys. Well, up next, we need to talk a little recruiting. Jerry, I'm gonna pitch it over to you.
Yeah, so we've been talking about for a while, when would Dia Bell's official visit be to Texas? That is going to be June 20th. And he'd been saying, I'm not sure yet, deciding between June 13th and 20th. He is going to be June 20th, and here is some of his junior highlights. But obviously, he's back on the field now, but getting ready for 7-on-7, coming off that injury, which he got very lucky. He didn't have to have surgery, so he got very lucky. He just needed time in a boot, time to heal. But he is going to be officially visiting June 20th. That is the same weekend that Caden Finley and Naeem Burrows, the jet fast wide receiver from Jacksonville Bulls School, is visiting Texas. So we kind of wondered what receivers would he visit around. And that doesn't mean the June 13th receivers aren't top targets too. But June 20th is his official visit date. And if anybody's looking for an autograph, Martin Gramatica will be on campus June 13th with his son, the kicker Gaston Gramatica out of Tampa Cambridge School. KJ Edwards, which had gone back and forth between June 6th and June 13th. I never thought June 13th was a real visit date for him. We'd held off putting out June 6th until he had a conversation with Chad Scott. KJ Edwards has now talked to Chad Scott. That official visit is now locked in for June 6th. So 3 new official visitors. That new list, updated list of official visitors, is on texasfootball.com right now. So that's 33 official visitors that are already locked in on February 26th. Texas had 41 last year, the whole month of June. Texas is going to zip by that this year. I think high 40s, maybe even hit 50 based on who's still out there that will schedule official visits that are waiting to announce their dates. But I think it may go to high 40s, maybe even hit 50 for June official visits this year. Samari Matthews, the corner from Huff High in Cornelius, North Carolina, north of Charlotte. We exchanged messages again last night, and it does look like June 13th through 15th will be locked in soon for his official visit. He's one of the top corners in the country. He has official visits set for Clemson May 30th through June 2nd, Florida State June 6th through 8th, and then South Carolina the 20th through 22nd. So, I mean, hey, look, if you're a top corner on Pat Surtain's board, no matter FSU, the struggles they're going through, if you're a top corner on Pat Surtain's board, I think you're a really, really good player, by the way. So that offer from Mark Orfe, his first offer to a prospect since being hired at Texas was Samari Matthews, the corner at Huff. I believe this June 13th through 15th date is going to be locked in shortly. And he'll probably make an unofficial visit this spring as well.
Jerry, I'm watching Dia Bell here and can't get over the fact that he does not look too fazed by the pass rush.
Nah.
And still keeps his head downfield. That's a good sign for a young quarterback, my man. A really good sign.
And he's about to be a consensus 5-star ranked prospect in the industry. For those that care about that stuff, I think he's going to be a consensus 5-star in short order. I was having a tremendous junior season until that injury. But again, he got really lucky with that injury because when that happened in the playoffs, I mean, I was really concerned because I had a buddy that's a high school trainer, and he saw that injury. And I'm not going to talk about here, but he was worried for that kid. But he got really lucky, didn't end up having to have surgery, was in a boot for a while. But he's posted 2 or 3 videos of him back on the field, slowly starting to work out again, working on footwork, just kind of getting back in rhythm. And he should be out playing 7-on-7 here in a matter of weeks and go through spring practice at American Heritage. I mean, he's a tremendous prospect. And look, Bobby, he's got the dual threat ability. Now he's a pocket guy, but he's got the dual threat ability in a league in which I do think that matters.
Yes, I completely agree with you. One other recruiting note before we move on to the next topic, and there was a tight end out of Montana that Texas offered yesterday. I know you've got we talked a little bit before this. We got a note out to him to see if Texas is really involved or if it's one of those things. But tell folks his name and who he is, et cetera, things like that, Jerry.
Yeah, he's out of Billings, Montana. His name's Matt Ludwig. Good athlete, really good athlete. And we'll see. He's got 3 official visits set, but Texas offered him yesterday. So we'll see. I'm waiting kind of see if an official visit's a possibility with him. And if it is, we'll talk about that more in the future.
One of the things that we talked about, and we did this for for those of you that haven't been to ontexasfootball.com before, we just uploaded a number of videos, or excuse me, a number of players to our recruiting database or our recruiting page, that tell you who Texas is recruiting at each individual position. And we kind of left out the guys that Texas has no shot at, or there was no reciprocal interest. Yeah. So even though Texas may have 100, 150 offers out right now, we really kind of whittled that list down to just guys that Texas had or has had a legitimate shot at. So go to our website on TexasFootball.com. In the navigation bar, whether you're on a laptop or a cell phone, click on recruiting and you'll see the list of 2026 recruits. We're going to be updating that list, including their schools of choice, et cetera. But it gives you guys that like to follow recruiting a repository of sorts to check that out. Jerry and I, Blake, CJ, Jeff Howe will all be updating that throughout the year. But it's a starting point for you guys that want to know more about some of these guys.
Hey, Blake, let's get back a little bit more into Aaliyah Chavez.
Okay.
Kind of your visit there to Hardin-Simmons is where that game was played last night. I want you to kind of go through what you saw last night, because I think there's an element of we haven't seen this before in Texas with a women's basketball prospect. So I want you to kind of go through what you saw with your eyes last night, because I think it's very unique to talk about.
Definitely. So, like I said, we've had a few people ask since then. She had 20 points. I went back and double checked on that. 20 points exactly. But I mean, even from the get-go, I've never been to a playoff game that was like that. I mean, just from fan support, that it was loaded. People from around the state coming to see her. That was unique in its own right. But as far as her play, and I texted Jerry last night, just how, number one, how the ball handling that she has, her moves, her intelligence, anticipation. I mean, all that is just at an elite level. Then she's a threat to score. I'm trying to get these videos queued up here if they'll download for me.
I can throw the stats out. I mean, her career numbers. I actually posted this on TexasFootball.com. She's averaging 34.9 this year. She averaged 37.8 as a junior, 30 as a sophomore, 26 as a freshman. She scored 4,771 points. The crazy thing for her is she's made 637 three-pointers in her career. She has 192 makes this year after 5 last night. She had 187 a year ago, 140 as a sophomore, 118 as a freshman. Those are massive numbers for people that don't follow like numbers in high school basketball. 637, career three-point makes at 41%. It's just a ridiculous number. She's a career 89% free throw shooter. She's had 38 40-point plus games in her career, 9 50-plus point games. She's made 10 threes in a game 6 times in high school. 13 is the most. 57 double-doubles in her career. She has had one of the most star-studded girls basketball careers in the state of Texas, if not the number one career in the state of Texas, especially playing 5A and being a national number one recruit and everything that's kind of come with that. But, Blake, I want you to talk about, so they sell Leo, she's different than Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was more of a pure point, 6 feet tall as well. I think Aaliyah is she's a combo guard that's kind of a point guard, but she is such a high level scorer. I do think there's a little difference in their game. But I will say this, Blake, talk about, they sell merchandise of her. Like, this has never happened in girls basketball in Texas.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I had it queued up here. Though I took a few pictures of the crowd. In fact, I think I posted it over.
You got to get the picture of you got to get the picture up of the autograph line after.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up as well. But I mean, it's just like they're jerseys upon jerseys upon jerseys and shirts. And I mean, and I think this is the autograph.
By the way, for people asking, she's announcing March 25th her decision. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. I've been said to watch for in her recruitment is she's always been a Nike kid. And is she going to leave the Nike family for the Adidas family? I don't know. That's always been my thing. She's always been a Nike kid now, growing up. I mean, and by that I mean AAU, everything that comes along with it. But she's going to, somebody asked about her from a NIL perspective. She's one of the unique athletes, because normally when you talk about, Bobby, you talk about NIL, it's about the Texas One Fund and whatever the Texas Tech thing is called, and Oklahoma's thing is called. But she goes beyond that. She is not, so she is so different that you're talking about somebody who's going to have NIL opportunities way outside of whatever college she signs with. I mean, these aren't, if she, let's just say the if game, if she picked Texas One Fund would be part of that, but a small part of that and what she's really going to be able to earn in NIL outside of the college she picks.
Look, I think it's indicative. The fact that we're a football show, we are ostensibly a football show and follow the Longhorns, right?
Yeah.
The fact that we're spending 5-10 minutes on a women's basketball player that might attend the University of Texas kind of tells you that she sits outside of the common conversation. That's number one. Number two, and I will say this, is part of the House settlement with NIL. It talks about fair market value in NIL. She's tailor-made for whatever fair market value is. That's what you're describing, Jerry, is the world is her oyster in that regard for whatever reason, whether it's because she's so good. I mean, just a number of different things. And so best of luck to her in her decision-making process and how she's going to do it. Of course, hope it's the Longhorns, right? But you can't ever guess that. But that is a hell of a line right there.
Oh, and this picture doesn't do
goes
it
back all the way to the trophy.
You know how popular you are as a high school athlete? She's in the concession
exactly
and taking if we're at the autograph line of 100 people or so after the game. That's wild stuff, man. That's that deserves mention. That's just wild stuff in high school.
And what's crazy is I took this picture probably after about 5 to 10 minutes of her already doing this. And it still wrapped. I mean, you see it going to the end, but then it wrapped around the corner to the right. And so afterwards, you know, I told her I'd interview her afterwards so she could, you know, meet with all her fans and everything. But I said, number one, do you do this everywhere you go? Like, does it matter if it's, you know, a non-district game week 1 versus today, or, you know, whether you're on AAU circuit? And number two, do you get tired of doing this? And she said, yeah, I do it everywhere I go. Doesn't matter where we play. I set up. I do not get tired of doing it. I love doing it. I love meeting, you know, all the fans out there. And I mean, it was just, I've never, ever seen anything like that. It's incredible.
It's different. I'm glad you got to experience that, Blake. And by the way, got to break big national news there as well. But that's really cool. That's just really cool, man. I thought that was awesome. So I wanted to spend a few minutes on that. This morning.
I think it's well spent, time well spent, because anytime there's a groundswell like that in the state of Texas, I mean, we all went to school, and most people here that are watching went to high school in the state of Texas. We know what it is when there's a Vince Young coming out or somebody like that people will flock to go see football games or basketball games or whatever. I remember when I was young, it was LeBradford Smith, the basketball player down at Bay City. Me and my high school friends went to Bay City to watch a basketball game. I mean, you know, an hour and a half away, and had to tell our parents we were going somewhere else so we could drive to Bay City. My parents don't even know that to this day. I guess if my dad's listening, he just found out. But the point is, it's that kind of thing where if we need to cover that as a group. All right, getting back to football, I do have a little bit of news there. Dwayne Aquina on Monday was telling his former players at Arizona that he was headed to Texas, as well as recruits. On Tuesday, he was expected to be in Austin. I'm not sure if he made it in or not, but he was talking to Longhorn players on Tuesday that he will now coach. I know there hasn't been a quote-unquote official announcement there. At least I don't think there has been, but everything behind the scenes has been done, and it's something that I think, as we mentioned yesterday, Jerry and Blake, a good move for the Longhorns. Hey, we got a special guest coming in, Tony Hills. Time for a hump day with Hills. But first, Blake and Jerry, you guys got to do a little pay the bills and read some ads for us, if you don't mind.
That's right. I will start, Jerry, if that's okay with you,
Sure.
And let everyone know about Factor. And if you're ready to optimize your nutrition this year, Factor is for you. They have chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved. They're ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. So you can fuel right. You'll feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and they're fully prepared. It's perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. I've been using them for months now, and I mean, that's spot on. I am always on the go. Throw it in there, 2 minutes, you're ready to go. It tastes phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. With 40 options to choose from across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. You can choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, whatever it may be, they got you covered. So use Factor to help reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Factor podcast and use code Factor Podcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. And then, Jerry, I'm going to let you tell everyone about Gooder.
Yeah, why Gooder is the question. I don't have him on today. I probably should. Didn't make the trip with me from the car to here. Stylish Sunnies starting only $25 a pair. If you lose them, $25 a pair. I lost a pair in the ocean in Florida. No big deal. They have a 1-year warranty. Don't need it. 30-day free returns. You won't use that either. They're lightweight and comfortable, 100% polarized, no slip, no bounce, from vibrant colors and sleek styles. That UT Gooder. Those sunglasses are very popular around the campus, around the Saturday games and the old spring game, Bevo Boulevard, and all that good stuff around Texas. There's a pair of Gooders for every personality. All the women's beach volleyball players wear them, by the way. Designed for both everyday wear and active individuals that love to run, hike, bike, and more. When do you wear your Gooder, Sunnies? That's the question. Anywhere, but how about on a run, playing pickleball, on a hike, going to the beach? Because they're so affordable, you don't have to worry about losing or breaking them. You can have a pair for every single occasion. That is true, by the way. If you need a pair of Sunnies, Gooder is giving On Texas Football, all caps, listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com/OnTexas, all caps, and use that code OnTexas, all caps, for free shipping. Gooder offers a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that's gooder.com/OnTexas, and use code OnTexas for free shipping. And I can tell you what, man, that's the only thing left to bring this guy more energy is a pair of stylish Gooders.
I bet Tony Hills would look good.
I was about to say, speaking of energy,
this guy would bring the energy if he had the flu or was an hour out of surgery.
Hey man,
Tony, welcome in, buddy.
Man, listen, I'm happy to be here. Me and Blake need Jerry to go ahead and hook us up with all of these NIL deals that he getting over here for the show, bro.
That's right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? We got Joy Mo, we got Gooder, we got all these different things, man. I'm just saying, can you help a brother out? You know what I mean?
Hey, Tony, I'm going to send you the Joy Mode read, and you can read that one next week when on Hump Day with Hills.
Listen, it's gonna be beyond whatever is beyond joy. It's gonna be elated mode by the time I'm done with it.
Hey,
I'm elevating.
We just had CJ Vogel on. He's up at the combine. I know that you had your own pathway to the NFL draft. Give folks a sense of what these guys are going through right now, if you don't mind. All these guys getting ready to go be poked and prodded and told to do. I mean, seriously, it's like, I mean, you say it, but that's really what's going on here. I mean, they are going through, everything mentally. They want to know how they think mentally, how they react physically. It's not just the underwear Olympics; it's the underwear mental Olympics too. I mean, what's going on right now in that regard for these Texas players?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bobby, as you know, man, Indy is my old stomping ground, man. I was there in 2012 with Andrew Luck, man. So shout out to the Colts, man. Beautiful city. I can tell you what's going through a lot of the young men's mind, just going out there and being able to execute on all of the things that they practice. So like when I was going through the combine, I forget Lewis's last name, but he was one of the anchors that does a lot of the stuff for the Olympics. And so he trained us on our meet. Yeah. So the Michael Johnson Performance Center out here in Dallas, Texas, is where I trained at. And what we did is we would have sections where we would train, for the physicality of the combine, right? So making sure that we're doing our 40s, we're doing our bench press, we're doing our L drills, our 5-10-5 shuttles, all of these things. But then there also was media training as well. And then there was also interviewing training, right? And so our interview training. And so I know a lot of these guys are just going through the notes of what that process is like. And then ultimately, man, just understanding, some of these guys, you're going to be able to see how they perform under pressure. Some guys might perform well when it comes to testing. Some guys, when it comes to the mental testing, some guys might not. Some guys might perform well when it comes to the physical testing. Some guys might not. So a lot of this ebb and flow of the combine is going to be really predicated on which individuals can take it one step at a time. Right? Being able to understand, okay, we're not looking to get to the next day. We're looking to get to the next moment. And so for me, my situation was a little different because I was coming off of an injury, but it was still the same mentality. My prep plan was to go in there and do everything that I needed to do from the interviewing process and wow the people there. And then understanding that the physical part would be doing when we came back and did the one-on-ones and when I got back to Austin. And so I just know a lot of those guys are putting those plans in place.
Hey, Tony, Rod's talked about the wild questions he got asked around the draft process. Did you have any that kind of you remember that were like, what the hell?
You know what? I've heard these stories, but honestly, no. I didn't have any questions that was crazy. I will tell you what was interesting. I got a call from my elementary school teacher saying that, hey, there were some guys here with this NFL organization that came and asked about you, and they were asking about like your character and things like that. And I was like, that's the first thing was that's crazy. The second thing was what did you tell them? Because that's going to be, if whatever you told them, I know they're going to carry weight with that, but also that's going to affect your check when I get drafted.
Yeah, exactly. I can't imagine. What would you ask in elementary school? Did young Tony drink too much chocolate milk? Did he have too many donuts? I mean, like, what do you even ask? Like,
was I the playground bully? Was I slapping on these kids? You know what I mean? Because I was bigger than everybody.
Teacher. I mean,
you know what I mean? Just walking around flipping people's lunch trays and snatching their cornbread off their table. You know what I mean? Like, was I doing any of these things?
If you'd have said yes, you'd have got drafted even higher.
Probably. He has a mean streak. Love it.
Tony took that slab of pizza, whatever they used to put.
I did.
We'll take other people's slabs of pizza. Tony, look, Baron Sorrell talked to the media today, but one of the things that happened this morning, CJ Vogel there is for us, and I want to ask you about this. Landon Jackson, the Arkansas defensive end, said in an interview that Kelvin Banks was the toughest or most difficult player he faced this year, all year long. All right, if that's the case, what is that? He also faced Will Campbell, the other highly ranked offensive lineman or offensive tackle out of LSU. Landon Jackson did. Is that just a feather in Kelvin Banks' cap? Do you think that's meaningful to NFL teams when someone says something like that? Since, I mean, it is peer-to-peer. Who's better? And he said Kelvin Banks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, absolutely. When you talk to a lot of athletes, man, all of the accolades that come from being a great player is wonderful. But the thing that players are playing for is to be able to gain respect from their peers. That's what they want. And so for him to be able to say that about Kelvin is, obviously he's not saying anything that we all don't know, right? This guy's a technician. This guy's he's a foundational piece to whatever it is that you're building. And whoever gets them understands that they're getting a safe bet with this guy. But it just goes to show you not only the work ethic that he's put in, that being Kelvin, but also how he's garnered the respect from everybody within the SEC, because I'm pretty sure, although this was reported, that's not the only person that's saying it, that who played this guy. This was the hardest challenge, right? So it's a testament to Kelvin and just his ability to go out there and execute day in and day out. So it's a what you call a hat tip, man, to this guy for everything that he's been able to accomplish at that level since he first stepped on the 40 acres as a freshman, right? So it's no doubt in my mind that it's many more people that's saying that about him.
Hey, Tony, I wanted to ask you this as a follow-up to that, because I think you've mentioned this before, and we've talked about this before. The NFL draft, it's all about, those guys are looking for warts, right? It's almost not what you do really well, but are we missing something with this guy?
Yeah.
Like Derek Johnson's not physical enough. Kevin Durant couldn't bench 185 pounds coming out of Texas, right? It's almost like they're looking for warts. Some people are going to try to ding Kelvin Banks on his height. It's coming. It's already being talked about, right? But talk about why that you don't think that will matter for him.
I can give you a couple names. Willie Colon, it didn't matter for him. He was a 6'3", 330-pound right tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Super Bowl champion. Kelvin Beachum, right? He was another quote-unquote undersized guy. Man, look, if you can play ball, you can play ball. And the real teams that understand that, those are the ones that you usually or typically see that are doing pretty well when it comes to the league and when it comes to scouting. It's been so many. I mean, London Fletcher, James Harrison. Hell, Casey Hampton was a bowling ball, right? I mean, at the end of the day, what does it truly mean to be quote unquote undersized, right? Darren Sproles, right? We can keep going. Deshaun Jackson, like, what does it truly mean to be quote unquote undersized? If the guys can ball, the guys can ball. And if you're the guy that passes up on this dude predicated off of the fact that you don't think that he's tall enough to play this position at the next level, then I guarantee you, one, you don't know football, and two, you're probably not going to have a job, right? So I think that this is just, these are the things that you start seeing in this particular moment because football's not being played. We got to be able to find something. And to your point, Jerry, you're right. But looking at it from a business standpoint, let's flip it there a little bit. Like, everybody wants to find out where the hole is in the investment, right?
Yeah.
So that's basically what that is. But at the end of the day, the real GMs and the real scouts and the coaches know who this guy is, and they're just chomping at the bit to be able to have an opportunity to build him as the cornerstone piece. I know from a prolific standpoint it's a little different, but we've seen tackles like this: Tyron Smith, right? Joe Thomas, right? Even though it didn't go the way that he wanted to, he still had a decent career with Jake Long. Right. So we've seen these particular pillar players from the offensive line that establishes you for years to come. I'll throw another one out there, DeBrickashaw Ferguson. A lot of people don't remember him. Yeah. Monster, right? Played for a long time. These guys like this just don't come along a lot. So whoever gets them, hey, more power to you, brother. You just got a guy for the next decade.
Hey, Tony, we've asked you to break down some video of a lot of guys that Texas is targeting on offensive line. I sent you Nicholas Robertson a little late from Klein. Did you have a chance to watch him?
I did.
All right, then we got the video, Tony. So this is
what? Did I watch a lineman? Come on, man.
Yeah.
What else are we doing in the morning?
This is Nicholas Robertson at Klein. He's going to be a guard in the NFL.
Finisher.
What's your thoughts on him, Tony?
Listen. Powerful, finisher, enforcer. That's what he is. Like, he has a 7-minute highlight tape, Jerry, and and what it is I don't even know if this is a highlight tape or if this is just a regular day at the office. But everybody he puts his hands on, there's one result that happens with them. They're on their backs. Period and point blank. Great hands, great power, great strength, just a dominant force. I'm gonna tell you this though. I know they have him here slotted in here as a left tackle. This guy's a guard.
Yeah.
He's a guard. Everybody knows that he's a guard. But I can tell you this, though. He has the perfect mentality for that particular position. Runs his feet on contact. That's finished. Like I'm telling you, I watched this dude a couple of times, man. Every time he puts his hands on somebody, they are going to the ground. There's a lot of heavy run tape. I wish I could have seen some more pass pro. The pass pro that I saw, he's patient in his set. But I think a lot of that is just because the competition that he's facing, there's not really a lot of speed rush that you get to him. It's a bunch of guys trying to run down the middle of him. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense because he's already killing you on the run game. Why would you just give him what he wants? So I haven't really seen a lot on the pass rush, but this guy projects to be a guard. Reminds me a little bit. And I know people will say, I don't know. But if you look at the high school tape between the two, this is DJ Campbell Jr. You know what I mean? He's a finisher. Like what DJ had to be developed into being a better pass pro. But when it came to the run game, you knew what you were getting. This is that same style of guy. So it makes sense that Texas is interested in him. It's a prototypical guard that Texas likes. Big, physical, strong, nasty dudes. When they put their hands on you, the other person feels it. Like somebody's going to have an ambulance come out for cardiac arrest if he puts his hands on somebody else.
And here's the great news for Texas fans.
Finished.
I think Texas is a pretty big leader for this kid. I've been saying that for a while. Nicholas Robertson out of Klein High. Like Tony said, he plays left tackle, but every college is recruiting him to play guard. He knows he's a guard. But these high school coaches do what they need to do to win the most games they can, and that's put this kid at left tackle. But I wanted Tony to give you guys some thoughts on that. So now we're going to have to find something else. You want to break down wide receivers next, Tony, because we're out of linemen. What you got?
Man, listen, I will never shy away from a challenge, but I definitely am going to need more study time when you start talking about people that weigh under 275 pounds.
D lineman it
Not
is.
just 200, but 275.
Yeah, 275. I picked that number for a reason, man. It's a really smooth number. You know what I mean?
Hey, I got a question for you. Where did you run into Kelvin Beachum? Because I saw him in high school. He's out of Mejia, little small town in Central Texas. Where did you run into him? Were you playing with him somewhere?
I did not play with him. He, I think the year or two after I left, Pittsburgh had him.
Okay.
And so
Gotcha.
because he essentially, replaced me,
Yeah.
I wanted to see what he was about. And the dude is a baller, man. And he went out there with Coach Kugler at Arizona with the Arizona Cardinals, and he balled out there too. Long tenure career, but he is to me what Kelvin is now. I like they're the same typical player. Like when Beachum came in, the thing that you liked about him was his athleticism, but more importantly, you liked his fundamentals. This guy was a fundamental machine. He was a machine. Like every step was perfect. Every set was right. Right. If you beat him, you just beat him. It wasn't because he beat himself. And that's what I see with Banks.
Good stuff there. Good stuff. Tony, thank you so much, bud. We appreciate you as always. Hump Day with Hills. Tony Hills. Tony, what do you got working? What are you working on these days? Tell people what you're doing. Give yourself a little shout out here.
Man, I appreciate that, Bobby. Well, right now, the thing that we're carrying the flag for is to be able to help educate the athletes in the NIL space. So co-founded a company called Athlete Alliance, where we deal with wealth management, marketing and branding for athlete acquisitions on NIL deals, and then also mentorship. And so the landscape of college football is changing. It's moving more into that professional space. I understand that. And so we basically just built a company on the things that I wish that I would have had coming up. And man, it's been going great. So anybody that's interested in learning more about that, you can go to athletealliancepma.com. Or if you just want to know about the tycoon, man, go to TonyHills.com. That's where you guys can find me at.
Thanks, Tony. You be good, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely. Hook 'em, guys.
We got you a read for next week. I got you a read. Get ready. We'll send it to you.
Hey, send it to me, man. I'm not even gonna use the words. I'm gonna make up my own stuff.
I love it. Do it.
Thanks, Tony.
Love it.
Oh, good stuff as always, for sure. All right, guys, we have a super chat that we need to get to from It's 420 Somewhere. Thank you, It's 420 Somewhere. Why is there such a push for these big official visit weekends? I would think that you don't have the same amount of time to spend with recruits and really connect.
It's actually a really good question, 420 Somewhere. That's a really good question because it's brought up a lot. I think that the main thing here is there's some May official visits, right? But it's SARK and a lot of colleges like Georgia has their big weekend. These schools normally have two big weekends where they have 80 to 90% of their kids in June. And everybody's kind of fighting to get the second to last word or the last word. So you kind of know where you sit going into decisions in July and August, right before senior seasons begin. But look, I think if there was where things could change down the road, Bobby, and this is why this is a really good question. Where this could change down the road is if we ever get to a point where a kid can sign his NIL deal with a school and be done with the process. At any point in his high school career, say after the end of his sophomore year, starting his junior year, because I think that's what it's ultimately going to happen. At that point in time, I think there'll be a free for all. The kid can have an official visit anytime after the start of his junior season. That's the way it is in basketball, by the way. And so you could have player X. Let's just say Nicholas Robertson, for instance. Texas could bring him in for an official visit in September of his junior year for a football game. They could come together, agree on an NIL deal. He could sign his deal, and his recruitment's over. I think that's when you're going to see the official visit process truly change for how these colleges are going about
it. I agree with that. I would say overall, why does Texas do it that way? There's also this idea that you want people to be around other guys that might be their future teammates. Because we talk about this all the time, right, Jerry? peers recruit peers.
Yeah.
Players recruit players. And it's easier to do that in maybe a group of 10 to 15 than it is just 2 to 3, right? They get a better sense of what they're walking into, because a football team is not about one-to-one communication with players. I mean, you're part of an 85 to 105 man roster. So that is typical and more normal. And you see maybe if those guys fit. I will be the first person to say Texas has lost players, as has every university, that didn't feel that fit on an official visit weekend. But that's not necessarily, in retrospect or in hindsight, a bad thing, because maybe they just weren't going to fit overall, right? And so I hear what you're saying. I think, having gone through that process at a couple of different places and seen it at when I was in school at Texas, I think 15, 20 kids is anywhere from 10 to 20 is fine. You get over 20, it gets really unwieldy. So I would say that Texas has always kept it within that number. And so I don't see any problem. But you start getting over, really, it was like 20, and you're herding cats. 10 to 15, you can actually have a real one-on-one conversation as much as you need one with players, in my opinion.
All right, Bobby, it's giveaway time.
It's giveaway time for Adam Lowy, the Lowy Law Firm.
That's right.
All right, here's the deal. As always with Adam, you have to answer this question. Send an email to ontexasfootball@gmail.com. ontexasfootball@gmail.com. This is not going to be a University of Texas specific question. Okay, it's going to be a broader question. What 5 Power 5 or Power 4 conference schools, or schools that can be in the college football playoffs, I'll just put it that way, do not have a name that ends in a nickname that ends with the letter S, or has a color in their nickname? I'll give you one: the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. There's 5 schools that are like this. No color and no ending in S. The Syracuse Orangemen, for example, do not count. Be the first one. Send it in. You get 4 tickets to this weekend's Georgia game, courtesy of Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm.
That's a heck of a question.
I got to be honest. I knew this. I learned this back. So, true story. University of Texas used to have I got to brag on myself a little bit. University of Texas used to have a intramural sport called sports trivia. 3-time champ with my different teammates. So I learned that back in 1988 or 89. I can't remember. Had a good time at UT intramurals with that one.
Okay. Let's see here. Oh, and great points there. Oh, make sure you can actually go to the game.
Yes, please. And that is something we want to do, because Adam likes to send people that want to go. And so please make sure that's the case. Again, ontexasfootball@gmail.com.
By the way, we haven't mentioned it yet, but the men's basketball team is at Arkansas tonight, 8 p.m. ESPN2 against John Calipari. And that one didn't go well in Austin. That's look, Texas has to win 3 of the last 4 to get in the NCAA tournament.
Yep. Okay, we got time for some more questions here. And let's start with King Me. You mentioned Akina earlier, Bobby, so let's go back to that. What does Dwayne Akina bring back to Texas football?
Oh, I think there's some legacy there and some history. It allows a guy like Michael Huff to point to guys that have actually – Michael Huff is a great fixture around the University of Texas. Classy guy, does his thing. But, you know, he was – that's who his mentor – of sorts was Dwayne Akina. He could point to Blake Gideon and Terry Joseph as the guys coaching Texas secondary. Now, when he says, yeah, this is the guy that helped me, it has a little more resonance, if that makes sense. So I think it brings a little bit more of that proof is in the pudding type of scenario. Michael Huff can literally say, do what he says, and you have a chance to be a first-round pick, like I was. I'm not saying you will be, because it's going to be up to you. But Dwayne Akina, Jerry's put the number out there, 40-plus NFL players in the secondary through his career. I mean, if he's not the answer for you, you may not have an answer. That's the point. I mean, sometimes people can bellyache, oh, well, I didn't get this or didn't get that. Well, with Dwayne Akina, if you're not making the NFL, it's probably not Dwayne Akina's fault.
I would say this: when a Michael Huff has a discussion with Jonah Williams or Zealous Hicks, these young safeties, and he'll be like, "Hey, man, you better listen to this guy. You better listen to this guy, because I wouldn't be where I am today without him." That's a pretty good for the DBs at Texas, and Dwayne will be coaching, obviously, safeties. That's a pretty good line to have when the Thorpe Award winner, who sent out the tweet when Dwayne was announced he was coming back, when he tells the young safeties that's a resonating message. That bottom line, that's a resonating message.
And then a question that we've had a couple of times, Jerry, when you were talking about Dia Bell earlier, people want to know a comparison for him. UTX Horn says, who's the comp for Dia Bell? Champ Bailey 3. What's a good comp for Dia Bell? Yeah,
we're going to come back to that. Let me think about that for the next few minutes, like a true one. Let me come back to that one.
All right, we will.
I've got one kind of.
What you got, Bobby?
The guy at Arizona State,
Sam Levitt. That's not bad.
I mean, I don't know if the arm is different materially. Like, I think Dia may actually have a better arm, but he's that kind of escapability.
Yeah.
And whenever he decides to go forward, it's fast. I mean, the scramble by Sam Levitt, by the way, I was rewatching some Arizona. Don't ask me why I do this, but I was rewatching some of the Texas Arizona State game. I think it's because I was at the game, and so I wanted to actually see it from a TV vantage point yesterday. I was watching it. That 3rd and 14 in overtime run that he had was a freaky play. Like, everything had to be perfect, and he read it perfect. That was a phenomenal football play by him. Texas is lucky they got it out of there alive. But yeah, I think it's Levitt. He reminded me, just watching that highlight film of him this morning, Jerry, that's who he reminded me a little bit. Slides easy to – Dia Bell slides really easy to his left.
Yeah.
You notice that, Jerry? Like, not a lot. Quinn Ewers did not historically slide easy to his left. Dia Bell has some of that in him.
One thing about that, if you watch too, okay, KJ Lacey has that to him as well. Yeah. Those guys that were point guards in basketball, that movement skill carries over to the pocket. I mean, that is the one truth in that. There's the carryover from those sports. And so think about Dia Bell growing up before football was actually going to be his thing. He was training in the backyard with pops in basketball. And all that footwork being a point guard, that I think really carries over to being a quarterback in the pocket. Just that ability to move and slide around, because KJ Lacey does a lot of the same stuff. David Morris talked about it from QB Country when he was on here. And KJ Lacey was a point guard, and his dad was a really good basketball player, not an NBA basketball player, but a college level player. There's something to that. I really think that.
And I wanted to bring this up here, Jerry. So I didn't know if you saw it or not, but K-Stu says June 13th official visit.
That one. We got that one on our On Texas Football list. That's Chris Stewart at Shadow Creek. June 13th is his day. His official visit weekend to Texas. Yep. And there will be
Mr. Stewart that is saying that to us.
Hey, by the way, he's got two Power 4 kids. I mean, so his other son is Power 4 offers as a safety. I think Carter just locked in at Arizona State official visit. Is that right, K-Stu? And a couple others. But That's pretty cool, man. One plays receiver and one plays safety. I can't imagine those backyard football games going up.
I'd be all-time quarterback.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to go up against him as a receiver or as a DB. I'd have to be all-time quarterback.
All right, Bobby, before we move on here, I'm going to let you tell everyone about one of your new favorites, Ridge Wallet.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it. It's part – the best way I can describe it is it's part wallet and part money clip. It is really compact and easy to carry. It holds up to 12 cards. I don't know how many you use, but I've got my license in here, business debit card, my regular credit card, etc. And it just fits perfectly. And it also allows me to carry a little bit of cash. I'm not a big cash guy now with everything going digital. So this Ridge wallet has been really good. It's like a regular wallet takes up so much more space. Don't carry around the same bulky, overstuffed wallet that your grandfather had, or my dad, or me until last week, basically, or 2 weeks ago. Sleek, minimalist wallet that's changing the game. Ridge wallets are extremely thin, yet can securely hold up to 12 cards plus cash without adding unnecessary bulk. With more than 50 colors and styles, Ridge wallet isn't just functional, it's personal. Whether you want a sleek black forged carbon fiber look, or a wallet that features your favorite college football team like the Longhorns, or one that just matches your vibe, they've got you covered. Right now, Ridge is having their once-a-year anniversary sale. Get up to 40% off at ridge.com/on-Texas. Make sure you type in that URL, ridge.com/on-Texas. Just head to ridge.com/on-Texas to see their biggest sale of the year, up to 40% off. After your purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. Thanks to Ridge Wallet for your sponsorship of On Texas Football. Really do like this.
Your wife says that you're obsessed with it.
I am. I just, by the way, they got some more money out of me. I bought one for my son because this is like really good for this would be good for Arch Manning because it has, it's just a tight thing that they can put in, and you can actually put an air pin on it or an air tag on it. You know, we do those things for Tile so that he doesn't lose it.
That, by the way, that's great for Jenny too, because that's a one-stop shop for her. She knows where all your stuff is. She can go get the card, the cash.
Oh, yes,
that thing's a great product for wives too.
That may be a negative. That may be an anti-selling point for some.
All she needs is an Amazon card in that thing too.
All right. Well, let's move on. We got time for a few more questions here, fellas. And let's take this one from Garrett Street. Garrett asks, what are y'all's thoughts on the staff's approach to recruiting Louisiana going forward since Terry left?
Yeah, so the addition of Lylan Clark was key there. He's from Baton Rouge. Brandon Harris has a lot of Louisiana connections. There's other guys on the staff that recruit Louisiana. It's a good question, though, because Texas certainly – when Sark's staff was initially hired, he had Terry Joseph and Bo Davis. He had Hankton on that staff as well as an analyst who's since moved on to be a position coach, plus Brandon Harris. So there's a little less of that vibe right now. I don't think it'll be costly to Texas at all in recruiting, honestly. I mean, look, you for instance, a Jabari Mack in Destrahan, a wide receiver. Chris Jackson is doing that, is going to do the majority of that recruitment. It wouldn't, if somebody else was hired in an analyst role in the future that had Louisiana ties, would it be a surprise? No. But I really think, and it's not taking away from Louisiana, but I really think Texas is shifting even more focus on Georgia and Florida right now. And that's not that they're not focusing on Louisiana, but I think there's even more focus on Georgia and Florida.
North Carolina, some too, Jerry.
Yeah.
We talk about that. That's the third consecutive day we've mentioned it, but I want people to know Texas is going to recruit North Carolina. I would not be surprised if Texas signs one or two prospects from there this year. First time I can recall, by the way. Hey, CJ Vogel breaking a little bit of news. Actually, Vernon Broughton is meeting with media today at the NFL Combine. He will not perform on-field drills at the NFL Combine. Vernon Broughton will not, due to a hip flexor strain suffered 2 weeks prior to the Senior Bowl. Maybe that explains why he wasn't at the Senior Bowl as well, Jerry. So Vernon Broughton will not perform drills. CJ, if you just are joining us or have joined us in the last 30 minutes or so, was up there in Indianapolis, and we talked to him this morning on the show. Baron Sorrell had already met with media this morning. Baron Sorrell and then Alfred Collins also set to meet with the media today as well. Then those three guys, or I guess two, Sorrell and Collins, will be on the field tomorrow working out at the NFL Combine. CJ Vogel will be there for us.
Bobby, question here from Brian Berg. When is Pro Day in Austin?
It's supposed to be the 20th. I'm told it's the 26th. So the 25th is the start of practice. And I confirmed this with an agent earlier this morning. He's been told to have his guy there on the 26th in Austin. So to be ready for the 26th. So the 25th, as of right now, is supposed to start spring practice for the Longhorns. This 26th, which is a Wednesday, is Pro Day. And it's my understanding that Texas is supposed to have another practice, spring practice on the 27th. So that's how they're windowing that. That should be a big week in Austin. You mentioned Aaliyah Chavez's announcement now, March 25th as well. It's a big day coming up in Longhorn sports.
And by the way, Kyle Voska, yes, Fan Appreciation Day is April 26th.
Yes.
And the two big recruiting weekends I'm hearing, and there's already been 2 or 3 kids come out and say they're going to make unofficials March 29th, April 12th. Those are your 2 big visits. Now there'll be some kids trickle through on a singular day, maybe if they're with a 7-on-7 team or something, but you're more invite weekend unofficial visit for around a spring practice is going to be March 29th and April 12th.
So that's when they probably have scrimmage.
Yeah.
The 29th, they can't have a scrimmage 3 days.
No, 3 days in.
Yeah. So the 29th and the 13th is what you're hearing basically.
April 12th. Yeah.
12th. Okay. All right. So those are big days because Texas tries to get 15, 20 guys in.
And by the way, why it fits, Bobby, is the Texas relays are the 26th through 29th. Perfect. Texas relays this year, March 20th to 6th. So not a lot going on in Austin at all.
Very quiet weekend.
Hey, Jerry, did you see that question?
Yeah, I was about to bring this up. Champ Bailey 3 says, Jerry, where is that championship game in San Antonio? Is it at the Alamo Dome? I would like to take my daughter.
It is at the Alamo Dome. State championships moved from Austin a few years ago. They're at the Alamo Dome. You can go to, if you just Google search Texas UIL, I believe through there you can find tickets, or just go to Alamo Dome, their site, and find tickets for the Texas girls state tournament there, which will be Friday, Saturday. And again, Chavez and Lubbock Monterey play Liberty Hill. So obviously a Hill Country team at 11 a.m. Saturday. I venture to say, because it's Chavez, final high school game. She'll play in a McDonald's game, final high school game in Texas, playing for a state championship, playing against a Hill Country team. I bet that's going to be one of the most attended girls' state championship games in recent memory.
If yesterday was any indication, I'm in 100% agreement with you. Okay, we got time for just another question or two. Champ Bailey 3, again, has Caden Finley scheduled an official with Texas yet?
June 20th. June 20th is his official visit date. Texas gets the last official visit there.
And then I'm going to put you on the spot. UTX Horn says, do we have any highs?
Yes.
That's best I can do, UTX. I tried. But at least you got a yes out of it. All right. And then our last one for today comes from Laguna Beach Longhorns. And Laguna Beach says, great job on keeping us so informed about UT sports. How does the 40 to 50 official visits that we are expecting compare with numbers expected by other blue blood programs?
It's about the same. While we're answering that, I'll look up a few others right now, but they're all going to be in that range of 40 official visitors, 38 to 45 official visitors as this gets built out. Right now, I was just looking at it. Georgia has 32. that are known right now. So most schools right now are in that. Georgia has 44 already scheduled. Georgia has 44 official visits already scheduled. I think you're going to see they're getting more aggressive with this because the kids and parents are trying to line up their official visits a little earlier this year for whatever reason. Is that going to become a trend? We'll see. Yeah, the majority of your schools are going to have 40 plus official visitors in June. Your blue bloods and the big schools that are really going to battle for all these top ranked kids, you're going to have 40 plus official visits in June. Texas had 41 last year in June, and they're going above that this year. There's no doubt. The question is, are they going to hit 50?
Yeah. And we're going to do one more here because I've actually seen this asked a couple times this week in different manners. But John Brown says, will Texas be allowed to hold a spring practice off campus? Like
this was done more than a decade ago by some teams, Bobby. Some people moved around. It may have been Art Briles at Baylor. And maybe a couple others, but I think Baylor once did spring practices in Dallas and Houston, if I remember right. I think the rules changed, though. I don't think you can no longer go to Duncanville High and have a spring practice, which was the angle for recruiting. And that's what kind of stopped all that.
Yeah. It's 30 to 50 miles away from your campus.
Yeah.
So you can go, if you're at UCLA and want to have one practice at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California, you can go do that. But you can't do it go from Waco to Houston or Dallas. They changed that rule as part of that. Yeah. They do allow the NCAA does allow camps. For example, University of Arizona to this day, I think goes up to Flagstaff to have their two-a-days because you can't practice in 110-degree heat in August in Arizona. So they go up to Flagstaff at elevation or somewhere up there to do that. But they can do that in the fall, but not in the spring.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I want to thank them along with Ridge Wallet, Factor, and Gooder, all for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in. The great questions, the super chats. Bobby, what do you got?
So the trivia question, name 5. There are more than 5. And you have to send the email to ontexasfootball@gmail.com. I have not got a correct answer yet. So this is still open. Name 5 schools whose nickname does not end in an S and does not have a color in the nickname. Some people are answering the Stanford Cardinal. Well, Cardinal is a color. So remember that. Got to give me 5. One example for you guys is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. These have to be teams that are eligible to be in the college football playoff. Don't have to be a Power 4 school exclusively, but eligible to be in the college football playoff. I need 5 names. I'll give you one with Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And this is for 4 free tickets to the Georgia game on Saturday, courtesy of Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm.
There you go. Okay, well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Hook 'em.